Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle. This is your host, Sam Lopez, host of Personal Trainer Hustle, but also owner of a private personal training studio in Culver City called Logic Fitness. That is my main business that I have built over the last few years. And this podcast is a way for me to share just all the lessons, advice, mistakes, stories, things that have happened to me as I became, a better personal trainer, grew my career, grew as a manager, then a business owner, all of these things that have happened. Just know that in order for me to have my own personal training studio, a lot of lessons have had to be learned and a lot of things have had to happen. And if you are here with me at Personal Trainer Hustle, then we're sharing that and we're talking about it. And I am here to just give you the real deal on personal training and on your career. Okay. So it is my belief that unfortunately in fitness, there's not enough talk about the realities of being a trainer, the realities of trying to get clients, the reality of trying to keep clients, the reality of trying to grow a successful personal training business or a career if you work at a company. We talk a lot about squats. We talk a lot about lunges. We talk a lot about calories, but we don't talk about, hey, how do you get clients? How do you grow your business? How do you do better, right? How do you start? So in the episodes that we have done and continue to do, those are the answers. And that is the subject that we are trying to focus on and provide for you guys. So welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Been busy with work, but we're back. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about, 5 key points in your business that you need to be aware of and you need to be trying to improve as time goes. Okay. So today we're talking about parts of your business that make the business go round, but also that you need to be improving in order to keep up with competition, keep up with demand, keep up with the growing of your business. As your business grows, you have to be aware of the things that you need to change or adjust or be mindful of as the business grows, right? There's a book that I read and a saying that goes around that says, what got you here won't get you there. And that is kind of the idea with which we're approaching today's episode. What got us here won't get us there, right? So these are, number one, I want you guys to realize these are 5 very important like puzzle pieces of your business, right? This is what your business is, it really like runs on, what we're going to talk about today. So it's 5 parts of the business that your business runs on, but also it's 5 parts of your business, 5 levers, if you will, or 5 categories that as you begin to grow your business, you need to come back and make adjustments. Okay. So it's going to make more sense as we get into it, but these are things that you have to adjust as you grow because you're like outgrowing certain things if your business is moving forward. So number one, hopefully you'll realize, oh shit, I have to make sure that I have these 5 things going in order to have a real functioning personal training business. But also once you have them going, because some of them will be obvious, once you have them going, you also have to make sure that you're making adjustments based on where you are in your business, right? You can't run, $1 million business, but acting like a 6-figure business, or a 6-figure business acting like, a $50,000 a year business, right? So you have to think about where you are and where you're going and where you've been. And that's what today's episode is about. So as we jump into it, of course, I'm just going to remind you guys, if you guys want to send in your questions, you can go to personaltrainerhustle.com. It's going to be linked in the episode. You guys can send your questions in there. I've gotten through a lot of the questions that have come in. I have a few more to get to, but today I wanted to make sure I stopped and gave you guys just a lesson in your personal training business before we get back to answering those questions you guys have sent in. But you guys are welcome. I've cleared out most of them so we can get right back into sending some questions. So if you are listening today, you have a question around your personal training career, whether you just started off, you just got certified, you want to start your business. I get a lot of questions around, hey, I want to start my personal training business. give me some tips, some advice. This is my situation, right? I'm this age, I'm in this area. Like, give me some details, and then we'll make an episode about your situation. Um, Something that I've added to the website recently as well. If you guys also at personaltrainerhustle.com, if you guys want to just invest in getting a personal training uniform, I've been thinking lately, I'm like, what is it that they need, right? Obviously, as coaches, we need information. But I thought, oh my God, of course, like and I'm going to make an episode specifically around this topic. But since we're here, you guys can go to personaltrainerhustle.com and just pick up a personal training uniform shirt. So you can just use this when you go to the gym, when you go work out, when you go to when you go to your training sessions, but also if you want to just have enough of them to wear out to the store. It is a great conversation starter. So you can kind of be marketing yourself even even without approaching people, right? Sometimes just by having a uniform, people come and talk to us. And so for those of you guys that are trying to start your own business, it's a good in between, right? Maybe you're still working out the kinks, figuring out what you're going to do with some logos and things like that. So in the meantime, you can still have a uniform just so that people know this is my coach. In the pictures, it's going to look better. When you're out in the grocery store, it's going to look better. It's going to open people up to talk to you. I remember when I would walk around with my personal trainer uniform shirt on, sometimes I'd be at the grocery store and the person behind me would see the shirt and they would ask me a question. And, you can pick up clients that way. That's the most important thing. So that you guys can check out. That'll also be available on the website as well. So, just something to think about to help yourself market yourself, even when you're not out there doing anything, just by letting people know this is what you do. You're branding yourself more and more. And hey, all you need are a couple of people to ask you some questions and be interested in what you've got going on for you to, make something of it. So it's a great, great investment to have a personal training uniform. And, what a uniform, or at least something that says that you're a trainer, right? Maybe you're just using it to go to the store to brand yourself, but that's a great place to start if you want to do that. So go to personaltrainerhustle.com. You can do that, or you can ask your questions. Everything is set up there for you guys to go in there and benefit from what we're doing here. So back to the 5 levers, right? The 5 things that we need to focus on in our business, and things that we need to come back to, right? Think about it like that, right? What got us here is not going to get us there. So we have to go back and make adjustments to these 5 categories as your business grows. These are true whether you have no clients. These are true whether you own 100 gyms. These 5 things still hold true. They're just going to be at different levels. You're functioning at different levels. You're thinking at different levels, but it's still the same 5 categories. That's why this is such an important lesson, because it's a principle, it's a rule that you have to understand about what you do. So number 1 is very basic, but sometimes we don't even get this right. Okay. When you start your business, you're out here competing. The first thing that you're putting together is the product itself, right? What is the service or the product itself? Your first iteration of your product will be your worst. At least it should be. So think about it like this. As you become a personal trainer, your first session ever will be your worst session ever. So your first session ever will be your worst session ever. And if you're going to be in business, you have to always think that your last session should always be your best session ever. That's how business should be run. So the example I want to use with you guys is just what iPhone has done, right? What Apple has done with an iPhone. There's always a version that comes up that should be more updated to be able to handle the technologies and the needs and the wants of the time, right? The iPhone doesn't keep selling if it's always the first one that came out, right? If it's the first one that came out, as time goes on, people kind of lose interest. You can look at a different example. It's not to say that this company is doing poorly; they might do very well, but something that I just hear from people is that the Tesla model is the same one that it's always been. So people aren't as excited now to get a Tesla as a car because it just simply looks the same. Now, it might have different features, but it just, when people look at it, they don't see how it's improving, how it's changing with the times. With the phones, we are more aware of it, right? So just gives you, I'm giving you examples. And that's not to say that the iPhone is always going to be successful. And it's not to say that Tesla's always going to be successful or that either one is going to fail, right? There's so many other parts to business, but those are just observations for you to realize your personal training. If you're going to be a personal trainer, if you're going to be in business, and this is true whether you work in a gym or not, you are still your own product. You are still your own service, right? Product and service. It just depends on what it is that you provide, right? Do you sell microphones? It's a product. Do you sell training? It's a service. But at the end of the day, I always just refer to it as the product because it's still the thing that people are purchasing. So I like to refer to training sometimes even as a product, because it helps you think differently, right? Now, service, you should be serviceable. But when you think about yourself as a product, you're going to start to think about it like, is my product a shiny new product? Or is it an old stale product, right? When you think about your training as a product, you're going to look at it different. You're going to think about the colors, the feel of your training, the features of your training, the updated features of your training. So, how is your training as a product evolving over time? What adjustments am I making? What am I adding to my product in order to continue to compete? Because it needs to be better than the alternative, right? And that's the challenge of being in business is when you're a trainer, you don't think about these things, right? You think, well, as long as I'm a good trainer, then people should train with me. But then you don't realize maybe people aren't training with you because your product, you're out here saying like, oh, I just developed a new phone, and everybody looks at you and goes, we've had those and we have the newest, latest version. You're just starting off. You think you did something special, but literally you just invented something that already was invented a long time ago, right? So again, I'm just trying to get you to think about that part of your service and how it's evolving over time in order to be better for the consumer and give them a better experience, a user experience, right? So your product is about that user experience. So it's just something to think about, right? There's no right or wrong way to do it, or maybe there are, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. Today is just about you being aware that maybe where your business is lacking or where it's falling behind, right? Maybe you're great at making ads. Maybe you're great at, growing a following. Maybe you're great at all these other parts of your business. Maybe what's holding you back is that the product itself has not evolved to the point where people want to purchase it. So, as we dive deeper into today's episode, I want to make sure you're thinking about it like that, right? I'm trying to grow my product as big and as I can. I'm trying to grow my business as big as I can. And so if I want my business to grow, I have to think about it through the lens of a business person. And that's what I'm trying to share with you today. Think about things through the lens of a business person. Any business person is looking at their product and going, how can I compete? How can I make it better? Is this good enough? Do people like it enough? At least, is someone doing it better for cheaper? Right. So if that's the case, I'm going to have a very hard time unless I'm really good at the other things that I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to have a hard time competing. So when we talk about the things that we're going to talk about today, it's going to give you more of a reality check to be able to reflect on your business. And hopefully you can pinpoint what lever is the lever that you have not picked up the pace on, right? You need to move that lever forward in order to grow your business. Now, again, these are 5 that you have to manage, right? So you have to, by the time you look at the 5th lever, you got to go back to the first lever because this is a dynamic thing, right? So today's episode is also for you to understand that business is like a living, breathing thing. It's always moving, right? So sure, you made a great product 5 years ago, and now you've maybe focused on other areas that we're going to get into, but oh crap, now I haven't made an improvement in this because I've moved on to other things. To be a real business person, you need to always balance all of these things that we're talking about today. So number 1 is be mindful of your product, be mindful of your service, because nothing else works if that doesn't happen, right? Even if you can sell a lot of it, if you have a great sales process but you don't have a thing to sell, what does it matter how great you are at selling, right? Or marketing or anything. You have the best website that sells nothing, right? So it all starts with your product. Then it's your job to bring that product into the world. And those are the other things we're going to talk about. How do you get a great product out? But first, you need the product. That's why I put it at number one. Get the product right. Then we can figure out the rest. And a lot of us just haven't done that part yet. We don't know exactly what our training is about, why it's great, why people will love it, why people should invest in it, why it's different than the rest, why it gives them better results, why it gives them a better experience, right? All those questions, right? And maybe more questions. Those are questions you need to ask when you're thinking about your product and your service as a product that you're putting out into the world. So that's number one. Number two, once we've built that product, number two is the awareness factor, right? A lot of us call that advertising, marketing, right? There's differences in those categories as well, right? The way that you build your brand out, sometimes you call it advertising, sometimes you call it marketing. Other terms are escaping my mind right now, but I read a good book recently that was kind of explaining, like, there's different ways to advertise, right? There's advertising, there's marketing, there's also publicity, right? That's another one that was slipping my mind. So all of those terms are kind of under the umbrella that I'm putting out there, which is awareness, top of mind, right? So that's why I'm going to use that term, but it's referring to letting people know that you're there, right? So even publicity, right? Sometimes people go as far as to create bad press simply to have people talk about them again, right? Sometimes celebrities, old celebrities, you've seen it, they'll create a scandal, and sometimes it's not even a real scandal to create publicity, right? Recently, we had this whole like Drake Kendrick thing that everybody was talking about with the rap. Maybe it was honest, maybe they wanted some publicity, right? So they got you to talk about them. So that's awareness, right? I'm just using it as an example to show you the power of the product for them was their music and themselves, right? Their brand, but they had to figure out how to get people to talk about it, and they succeeded, right? Whether it was thought out or not, I don't know, but it worked. Whatever happened worked, right? So again, I'm just using it as an example to show you that the product and the awareness are two different levers that you have to manage, two different categories in your business that you have to manage. And it is mandatory. Even if you have the best training, let's say you got number one down, you have the best training, you're the best coach in the world, let's say. If nobody knows you exist, it is pointless. Okay. And the inverse is also true. If everyone knows who you are, but you have nothing to sell them, it's also kind of pointless, other than you get to be popular. Maybe there's some perks, but they go hand in hand, right? And I'll make this point here because this is what I notice a lot with people that focus on getting followers is, and I've said this in episodes in the past, we become so follower obsessed that we forget that there needs to be a product attached in order for us to create an income, right? I can't tell you how much it breaks my heart to see people waste hours of their day to entertain other people for $0. I'm like, that's so crazy to get caught up in that. In my opinion, it's crazy to get caught up in wanting to get someone to laugh and not make $1 for it, like just for it, which is great. God bless people. Hopefully they make enough money that they can just spend their time doing that. If that's the case, that's great. If you are going to flip the followers to something else, that's also wonderful. But a lot of people fall into the double tap is enough. And for me, I just think that's a disaster, because you could be using all that energy to make an ad that actually gets you clients if you're a trainer, or you can use that time to create awareness so that people want to buy your training so that you actually become a real personal trainer and have a real career. And it's not to say that you can't build other things on top of it. But if you're listening to me right now, your goal is just to get clients and build a real personal training career for yourself. I'm not here to teach you guys how to be famous, right? If you don't have a real product, this doesn't make sense. If you're going to be a coach that goes and works people out and helps them with their movement, with their muscles, with their weightlifting, with their weight loss, with their calories, with their sleeping, with the motivation, with the accountability, with rehab, then now we're on the same page, because there is a product now that you're trying to give to those people in order to have an equal exchange, money for a benefit, right? So if you don't have a benefit, then get off the podcast, because I'm trying to do something real for you guys, right? Like for me, you guys may think of me as the voice on the podcast, but really what I invest my time in is getting clients to come to my studio so that my trainers have an income, and so that I have an income, and so that the people from the community have a good personal trainer that helps them move more, lose weight, get stronger, feel better, right? There's a real product in this world, and therefore we all benefit from it, right? So that's where I'm coming from. Sure, I'm the guy on the podcast now that you listen to, but that's just a separate thing, and I'm only doing this because the first thing is going well, right? If the first thing doesn't go well enough, there's no time to be doing stuff like this. So you guys have to think about that too if you're falling into that trap. Sorry, I got on a side note there, but I just think if I could just save one of you guys from wasting your time and falling into that, and instead build a real business, you'll thank me later. Now, if your goal is to just be famous, hey, it takes all kinds, and we need you too. Because, hey, when I'm sitting on the couch doing nothing because I've worked all day, I need someone like you to make a video to entertain me. So if you want to do that, hey, go for it. I'll get a good laugh. I'll make a comment, and then I'll move on. So if that's good enough for you to get a little comment from somebody like me sitting on the couch over there doing nothing, whatever, do that too. There's plenty of people that find a lot of success there too. So, it's not to say you won't. It's just not my thing. I don't think that's a safe bet. It's safer to have a real client that's paying you every month. So awareness, number 2, awareness. This is the lever that you need to be mindful of, push and pull and readjust. This is how do you get clients, right? And this is the part that I just talked about with Sean earlier today. I was telling him, when we first started, we used to just go out into the parking lot and hand out flyers and cards, right? That was the method that we used, and it got us enough clients. This week, I made an ad, and we got like 4 clients right away. I think we've gotten 6 in total, but like 4, booked right away. And I signed somebody up this weekend, and she was saying, I came because I saw your sponsored ad. And she was telling me why she connected with it, right? She was like, you guys are taking notes and the vibe and everything else. So she connected with the ad. So that's different than the passing out the flyers in the parking lot, isn't it? But but the category is the same, right? I still have to do something to get clients, to get people to be aware of the gym, to get people to want to go to the gym, to know what it's about, right? I had to, but again, this is where you see the example. We also had to improve the service and the product in order to then increase the marketing, the advertising, the awareness, right? And there's many ways to do it. I just did it through some ads, but different levels of it, right? It's different to pass out coupons and flyers than it is to create an ad that converts, and also have the ability to create it, have the script to make it work, and have the money to fund it, right? So that's what I want you guys to see, and that's why I want to share with you that as you go, things change, but the category never changes, right? I must always be aware of how people are finding out about us. How am I making sure that people know that we are an option? And how am I constantly inviting people to come and try the gym? 2 different methods, same outcome, but I had to adjust because I'm learning over time, right? So I didn't get to the point where I'm making ads and running them. Now, one day to the next, right? I had to have different iterations. I had to try the first one. I had to try different things. And as that was getting better, the gym was growing as well, right? So now that we have more trainers, there has to be more advertising, more marketing, more awareness, right? We need way more awareness to be able to upkeep the amount of coaches that we have in the studio, right? Passing out a couple of flyers outside is not going to cover the amount of inflow that we need to make sure that everybody can build their client base in the gym. So awareness, you just have to be mindful that, like, what are you doing for awareness right now, wherever you're at, and are you scaling it to the degree that is necessary for the capacity of your gym or your business or whatever it is that you're doing right now, right? Because also, if you overdo it, you might not be able to service it. Now, that's usually not the case for most people. We don't have enough clients, right? So if you don't have enough clients, now you know what category you're missing. It's really that simple, right? If you don't have enough people trying your service, then that means that you haven't done a good enough job to get awareness, right? The more awareness you have, the more opportunities you're going to have. Now, awareness isn't enough, right? We've already put one building block down, the product. If you have a shitty product and you make everyone aware of it, they're just aware that it sucks. So you got to manage all of it. Again, that's what I keep going back to today. All of the things we're going to talk about today, it's about respecting all of them equally and managing them all equally and adjusting them all equally and going back and cycling through them as your business grows, because you have to make changes. You can't market the way that you used to market if now you have higher paying clients, if now you have more consistent clients, if now you have too many clients, if now you have too small of a studio, right? Like, you have to go back and make adjustments based on your needs, right? Based on where you are, based on your capabilities, based on your product, right? If you're going to make adjustments to the product, then you got to go back and do that, then come back and market and then remarket the new changes that you made to the product, right? You can't keep marketing the old product when you've changed the product. So you can see how, like, well, now I added something to the product and the service. Well, now I need to market it again and go back and market it so that people know about the new version of it, you know? And maybe that version doesn't work. Maybe the marketing doesn't work. Maybe the product, the adjustment that you made is not the right one. You have to go back, change it again, which now means you have to come back and change the marketing again. You can't keep running the ads or whatever, or keep marketing yourself as this when you've already changed the service and the product. So just with those two, you can already see the dynamic. You have to go back and forth and be super aware of what you're doing in all of these categories. But you have to make people aware, and you have to think about different ways in which to get that awareness if you're going to be running a business. And I'll say this is where I just see a lot of struggling in this area with a lot of personal trainers. You're not putting yourself out there enough, right? Awareness is a numbers game. If you can get 1,000 people, if you can just invite 1,000 people, however you do it, right? I'm not going to tell you how you do it. But this is the challenge that I'm going to ask you. Can you get 1,000 people to find out about you? If 1,000 people find out about you, if 1,000 people are invited to try your service, can you tell me that not at least one person would say yes, right? And if you can honestly say, like, yeah, I think, come on, I mean, if I told 1,000 people about my training, one of them would at least call me and try. If you can at least logically think about it like that, then now you know, well, I just need to get 2,000 people to get 2 clients, then I get 3,000 people to get 3 clients. But this is the point of today. As you get better, your goal is to condense all of the categories that we're talking about today. Meaning that your goal, so let's talk about awareness, right? As you get better at training, I mean, as you get better at your business, when you start, there's no escaping this, you guys. When you start, you're going to have to make a lot of people aware just to get a few people to say yes. As you gain experience, as you gain knowledge, as you grow in your career, what used to take you 1,000 people to know about you is now going to go down to 500. So now, for every 500 people that find out about you, one tries you out. And as you get better, then the goal is to get down to 200, then get down to 100, then get down to 50, then get down to 10, right? So the thing that every business is trying, which is impossible, but what everyone's trying to do with their advertisements is to get everyone that sees it, or every time everybody, like, or if you're doing it through followers, right? Let's say the goal is to get to everyone that follows you also tries your service. Now, the reality is most people are not going to do that, but you have to think about it through that lens. You're trying to convert those people, right? So part of understanding your awareness category, your awareness lever, is that you want to bat better odds over time. So if you're going to grow in your business, this category also has to get better. You have to get more awareness, but you also have to get more conversions for that same awareness, or else you're not progressing, right? If when you started, it took you 1 in every 20 people to sign someone up, and now you've been training for 5 years and it still takes you 1 in 20 people to sign up, you have not made an improvement. You're doing terrible. Even though you're still getting a result, you have not improved, because the whole point of being aware of your marketing is to make it better, to make it convert more, to get more for the awareness that you put out there, right? You want to get people to want to buy it. But just know that when you start, the odds are against you. You have to do a lot of marketing, a lot of advertisement, a lot of awareness. You have to get a lot of awareness just to get some people to try it. That is just the war that every business person has to fight. It just is what it is. That's why business isn't for everybody. That's why having a successful career isn't for everybody, because you either pass the test or you don't, right? It sucks when you start and you're trying to run these ads and only one person calls you. You're trying to sell training and only one person says yes, and you already lost 4 or 5 clients. You already lost. But those that get through it and make adjustments in these areas and get better are the ones that deserve the result that comes later. Those that break under the pressure, that feel like, well, it's not fair. I am running all these ads and I don't get clients. And Sam ran an ad and he said he got 4 people the first time he ran it. Yes, if you look at it like that, you're going to quit. If you look at it through the lens where we all start at the bottom, but if I was 10 years into it, I would be just as good if I keep improving, then you've got the right mindset. That's what it's about. You have to count the time that's been invested in making those adjustments and getting better. So that's just awareness. Are you even making people aware of your product every day, every week, every hour, however you want to measure it? It has to happen. If you answer, I don't have anything to make people aware of me at all, not a flyer, not an ad, not a referral system, a sticker on my car. If you have nothing going on, right? You're not going to local businesses. You're not, like, then you're guaranteed for it to not work, because this is a category that must happen just as important as having a product, right? If I told you, hey, 5 people are going to call you tomorrow and they're going to want to buy, I don't know, 10 guitars from you tomorrow. Most of you guys probably don't, unless you're a musician, you probably don't have 10 guitars sitting around at home. So if I said, hey, man, do not worry about it, I've got 10 to 20 people that are going to come buy a guitar from you tomorrow, don't sweat it, I've got the marketing down. You would say, I don't have the product. I don't have the product. Why are you sending me these leads? No, man, don't worry about it. I'm going to say they're great leads. They're going to give you $1,000 per guitar tomorrow. So just be ready. You're going to go, it doesn't matter that they're going to give me $1,000 per guitar. I don't have the product ready. Okay. So think about your training that way. What does it matter if you have great ads, if you have great awareness, if you don't have the product? And inversely, what does it matter if you have a great product if we don't have the leads, right? So everything works together. You have to respect every part. A lot of you guys are freaking, what do they call it? Like knocking your head on the wall, right? Like you're wondering why it's not working because you're such a great trainer, because you got certified, because you have a great website. And the answer is very obvious. You're just not making people aware. Nobody knows you exist. So what do you expect is going to happen, even if you're the best? So I'll leave it at that. You need to come up with a plan of awareness, a plan of marketing, a plan of advertisement, a plan of publicity. However you want to think about it, be creative, but you have to be working on that every day, or else that phone, that email, it's never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You have to let people know that you exist, and you have to let them know what the features of that product are that make it so special, so important. Number 3, this is your messaging. Okay. So now this is about your story. And this also has to improve over time. Most of us don't even have one to begin with. I know that this is an area where I struggled a lot When I started, I was like, what? I don't even know why this is important, how I can put it together. But over time, I developed a story and I develop it more and more, right? And the story is, what are the questions that are in my potential customer's mind? Where are they coming from? What are they thinking? Why is my company important? Why does my service solve some type of problem? What are the features, the benefits? What is it? And how do I message it? Right? Because here, okay, now see, this is why you have to listen to every step. Now we've added the message. Okay. Now let's say you have a great product. That's number one. You have a lot of awareness. Number two. But I'm going to give you an example. Let's say this is the ad. Let's say you have $50,000 to run an ad. Then this is your ad. Hey, listen to my podcast. Thanks. There's no message, right? And for you guys, it might be like, hey, I'm whatever, so and so personal trainer, certified for 3 years. Check me out, right? Okay, well, that message might get you 1 in 1,000, right? Because the message is not good, even if you have all the other things down, right? Every lever is important, you guys. I hope now with number 3, you're starting to see it. Now it's about the message. What is it that I'm saying? What is it that I'm solving for? What are the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that person is feeling and thinking when they find out about my service, right? And like, does it make sense, right? Am I a trainer that goes to their homes, or am I a celebrity trainer at this point? Or do I have a gigantic facility? All of those things require their own story and their own type of client. So if you're a trainer that goes to their homes, the way that you speak, the story that you tell, the benefits that you share in your story, the images that you share, all of those things have to line up with the product that you're trying to sell people, right? If you go home to home and in your videos you're always at a giant facility with big weights, there is a conflict, or it's incongruent with the message that you're trying to send out. It's the same thing if you're trying to maybe sell training to younger people, but you're always talking slowly and using word, or you're being like scientific about stuff when maybe young people want to hear more of a an encouraging message, right? Like, I can't give you all the examples, but I hope that you can understand that the messaging is important, right? If you're trying to sell training to a certain type of person and you always say, hey, bro, I want you to come try my workouts, bro. And then you wonder why no middle-aged women called you to be your client. It's your messaging, bro. So it's the messaging, how you speak is something that you need to be aware of. That also may be the area in which things are not moving along for you. You may have a bad message, right? Even if the training is good, even if the awareness is there, your message might not be hitting home with people. There may be no message, or it may be an incomplete message. It may be the wrong message, or it might be the right message to the wrong people. So you have to work on your message, right? Think about it like a story. What's the story? What's the deal with you, right? I always say this, like, example, right? This podcast, what's the story with this podcast? I said it earlier, right? The story with this podcast and the message with this podcast is, I don't think that people talk about the reality of being a personal trainer enough. We talk about squats, we talk about lunges, which is great. But knowing more types of deadlifts doesn't get me more clients. It helps me train people better, but it doesn't help me with the first part, which is, how do I get a client? How do I build a business? So that's my message. You guys see a real life example. The message of the podcast is, these are the people I want to help. New trainers trying to figure it out, trying to grow their careers. And the story is, it's hard to find answers to the real questions that you have. You get certified, you know fitness, but what about sales and business? And now, when you guys hear that, you go, yeah, that's kind of what I need. And so you tune in. That's a story. That's the message, right? And it's going to change over time as things evolve, right? Because I have an awareness of it. One day, when you guys are all doing better, you might need a different message for me, right? It might be like, hey, now that we're opening up our first location, these are the things that we need to think about. This is how we hire people. This is how we pay people, right? It's a different level, a different crowd, a different message, a different story because it has to hit. Or the other thing will happen as you start opening up and advancing in your business, the podcast might not have the message that you need anymore. It's all fair game, but at least when I started this, I knew who I was talking to and the story and the message and the problem that I'm trying to solve for you guys. And now that is how the podcast is found. That's how we have the listeners. That's how we've connected with some of you guys. That's how we get those questions sent in because there's a message, right? So, and it's the same thing with my personal training gym, right? My personal training gym, the message is it's a gym for the people that don't have somewhere else to go. They don't feel comfortable going to CrossFit gyms. They don't feel comfortable being in crowds. They don't like the membership where they have to wait for a treadmill. They want to learn about fitness. They don't just want to go through a boot camp. They want to learn about what they're doing, right? So because there are people that want that message, when I put that message out and I say, hey, this is a private facility, this is the service that you get, this is the product, this is who it's for, why it's important, the better I get at that message, the more when people hear it, they're going to go, oh yeah, that's me, right? That's what this lady said this last weekend that signed up. She said, when I saw it, the message resonated with me. I'm just going to be honest. And I said, thank you for the feedback. That's what I need to hear because that helps me realize, okay, this is hitting home, right? Another woman that signed up too, she said, oh, when I saw people that looked like me, that made sense to me, right? So the message, the message is important. And it's something that you need to figure out depending on where you are in your business, right? When you start, your message may be different than when you have 10 clients. Your message may be different when you have 20. Your message may be different when you're training people at the beach than when you're training them at home. If you're training older people or younger people, male, female, rehab, athletics, whatever you're doing, the more precise you can be about your message and your story, and you can talk to them and answer the questions and the ideas that are already in their mind, right? A 20-year-old thinks different thoughts about fitness than a 50-year-old. So you have to know who your messaging is so that you can talk. Do you want to talk to the 20-year-old or do you want to talk to the 50-year-old? If you don't make that decision, then you're not talking to anyone, right? So you have to know who you're talking to. And it's like I said, it's just a lever that you have to constantly come back to, right? As your business evolves, as it changes, as you make changes to your product, you might have to make changes to your message as well. So be mindful of that. Just be aware. I just want to make you guys aware today that you need to be paying attention to your message. Who are you talking to when you put your service out there, when you make your website, when you make your socials, when you make a flyer, whatever it is that you decide to do? What's the story? What's the message that you're trying to put out there? All right. Number four, category number four, lever number four, sales. That's another thing we just talked about with Sean. We've been selling for many years now. We're both pretty good, and we just had a meeting where we were talking about more him than I, um, but we were talking about where we need to improve in our sales, right? So he asked me, "Hey, what did you do this weekend in your sales process?" And I explained to him, I really focused on going through the whole process. And I was honest with him. I was like, I feel like I've gotten overconfident and I'm trying to go fast instead of do things correctly, right? So this I'm just letting you guys know about our meeting, right? So I was telling him, I was like, man, I feel like I'm rushing through the process and therefore I'm getting smaller packages instead of bigger commitments. And so I told him I noticed that. And so I made an adjustment and I took this person through a longer process. And then I told him what happened is this person bought a bigger package. So I was just sharing with him what happened with me. And he said he's been going through something similar. He noticed he was getting a couple of people that weren't making that commitment right off the bat. They were taking a couple of days to make the commitment. Now, he's good enough that he still got the commitment, but he's like, that shouldn't happen, right? He was like, I don't like that that's happening. So he's like, dude, I'm just going to go back and like refresh on all of my sales. I'm going to go deeper on sales, get even better at selling. And this is someone who has been selling personal training. I literally trust him with the sales of our business, right? He's in charge of the sales of the business. So I'm not talking about someone that doesn't know what they're doing. This is someone that I have entrusted in, like, hey, you close the deals for Logic when I'm not there. And he does. And even he, who I'm trusting with my company to make those sales, is saying, I'm going to go back and review my sales. I need to be even sharper. I don't like what's happening. Why did I share that story with you guys to open up today? because selling is a very important part of every business, and a lot of people overlook it, right? So this is where selling comes into play, right? Let's say you have a great product. Let's say you got the awareness and people came in. The message that you gave landed with this individual and they came and they didn't like what happened. It wasn't what they expected. They didn't make a commitment. They told you they'd be back later, right? That happens too. A lot of you guys that work at gyms know this. The gym has already done a lot of this work for you. You might not realize this, but by giving you a job, they've done a lot of the marketing and the messaging for you. So they just put someone in front of you. All you have to do is sell the product, and you're getting the runaround because this part the gym can't do for you. And so you're realizing I don't really know what I'm doing. And a lot of you guys that have businesses as well, some people, they open up a gym and people come to their door asking about the product because they have a location and they still can't close the deal. They don't have the words, they don't have the questions, they don't have the presentation, they don't have the prices, they don't have the confidence to close the deal, to get someone to say, yes, I want to spend money here. I like this. I like the message. I like the location. I like you. I believe in the training. I believe in the system. I want to pay $2, $3, $4, $500 every month to be part of this, right? That's selling it. If you don't know how to sell something, even if I gave you all the leads in the world, you would lose the opportunities because we can't get from trying the service to committing to a paid service, right? That transition between trying it and committing and giving you a card, giving you a check, giving you that cash, that is a skill in and of itself. Now, you may be thinking, well, I've gotten a couple people and I've never studied sales. That's right, but you're going to lose a lot of people that you could have gotten because you don't have that skill, right? It's no different than if I told you, well, I've never played basketball, but if you give me the ball, I can make it through the hoop a couple times at least. Doesn't make me a basketball player. It doesn't make me a professional. It doesn't make me good. It just means I can pull it off sometimes. And a lot of you guys are disrespecting your sales process and your business in the exact same way. You think you can play basketball because you can make some baskets, but a professional looks at you and goes, you have no idea what you're doing. Sure, you can make it through the hoop and you think that that's basketball, right? You think that that's basketball and that's fine, but you don't actually know how to play basketball. You would never be able to play at a professional level. Those are two different things. Selling, and a lot of things in business fall into this, but for this example, we're going to talk about selling. Selling is a very similar thing. A lot of people have clients, but it doesn't mean you know how to play the game. And it means that you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities are going to go past you because you don't know what you're doing. And a lot of you guys that work in a gym, you don't realize that a lot of the reasons why your manager isn't helping you, your manager stopped giving you leads, the manager isn't, investing more time in you, giving you more hours, giving you more lead. The reason is because they see what you don't see. And I'm trying to make you aware of it right now. What they know is that if I give you this client to sign up, they're probably not. Oh, but you know who? That other trainer, even though they just started last month, they've been paying attention, they've been practicing, they're trying. And I know they're new. I'm sorry. I know you've been here for a year, but you know who can close this deal? That person right there, that girl, that guy. And so because you didn't respect the sales, opportunities are going to pass you by. It's the same thing that happened. I did I talk about this in the last podcast? I did. Last podcast, I talked about the two sales that I got back to back the weekend before this weekend. And if you guys want to go back, you can listen to that story. I was just doing a brain dump on what had happened and how I closed the deals and things I did well, things I didn't do well. But how it ties to sales is the woman that signed up with me last weekend. She had already tried a trainer at another gym, and that trainer didn't know how to close the deal. And so she came and she tried us, and then she signed up. So I'm just giving you a real example of how someone, because they didn't respect the sales process, lost someone to someone who does understand the sales process, right? And now I didn't do anything special. All I did was understand sales. I didn't sell her. I just understand what selling is. And so all I did was I asked her better questions. I gave her information that she wanted that the other trainer didn't give her because the other trainer was too busy working her out. And they never stopped to say, hey, how does this feel? Is this too much? Are we going too fast? Is there any questions that you have? The other trainer didn't stop, right? Because that's what sales is. It's just asking the right questions, having the right answers for that individual. The other trainer has no awareness of this. And so they ruined their opportunity, which thankfully they did because now we got an opportunity. And my girl, Brittany, at the gym has a new client that she's starting with tomorrow. So sales, you have to be able to sell it as well, right? You have to be able to give them the experience that you showed them that they were going to get when they first found out about you, right? So now it's about that fulfillment of what they are thinking that they're going to get. You know, it's no different than the iPhone example that I gave. If they made the coolest phone, they made the commercials and everybody's excited. And if you went to the store and when you hold it, the phone is crooked and the salesperson is on the phone and then the price isn't the same as the price that was online and you can't figure out how to turn it on and this person is telling you that they're going to upsell you if you want something else and now the whole process sucks, you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to come back, I'm a little overwhelmed, I'm confused, I don't know what's going on. And now that person lost the sale even though everything else might have been right. The sales process is still important, right? Now we're getting more into your ability to ask questions, your ability to listen, to provide solutions, to be likable, to be amiable, right? To be someone that that person wants to buy something from, right? I can't tell you how many times people lose sales simply based on their personality. Sometimes it's just your personality sucks. You have to train it to be better, smile more, greet people more, look people in the eyes. I mean, just very simple soft skills that go into sales. But why is this a category? Because as you grow, your sales has to evolve too. I'll give you an example of what I'm going through, right? I got pretty good at sales, but for my gym to function the way that it functions now, right? Because I'm here with you guys right now. I'm not there. Somebody's there though. I'm not there, but somebody's there. And based on the meeting that I had with Sean, we got a new member at the gym this morning, but I wasn't at the gym this morning. I was doing something else. I had an appointment. So what happened? So hold on. Sam got a sale, but Sam didn't make a sale. Oh, because his sales are at a different level. Yes, exactly. That's why it's a lever that you have to always go back to. So just so you guys see things clearly, right? I got to the point where I understood that I could not be the only one with this skill. I needed Sean to be great at it, which he got. And now he's working with the trainers to be better at it, which they're getting. So when I say, oh, my sales process, I'm talking about the sales process that has leaked out into the people that work with me, right? Most trainers don't know how to sell training themselves. I'm trying to develop a team of salespeople as well. So now, no matter what happens, if somebody shows up tomorrow at 4 o'clock and says, hey, maybe Sean's gone, but somebody can say, oh, no problem, come here, I know what I'm doing. And so my sales process has extended to Sean, which then extended to maybe Crystal or Favi or Brittany. And now we're still selling, right? And it's all under the Logic umbrella. So it's still sales for Logic, but we are developing the sales process. And like I said in my story, even Sean, who is good, I saw him a couple of days ago with his book, and now he told me that what he was doing, but he's going back and he's restudying his sales because he knows that it's important that he doesn't lose any opportunities. And the moment that he felt his batting average was down a little bit, he was like, something's wrong because I know how good I should be, right? I know that I should be improving. And I feel like I went a step back. I felt the same way. I'm like, I should be better than this. I don't like what happened. Even though I sold packages, it wasn't the package I intended to sell. And so it made me reassess my process. But if you're not aware of sales as an element of your business, if you don't respect it, if you don't develop it, if you don't practice it, if you don't, adjust it, if you don't scale it as your business grows, then you're going to be stuck. right? I'm going to give you guys a little hack right now that makes me different than some of the other people that I started training with. I don't keep, well, actually, it's not a hack. You guys know this. It's not a secret because I'm literally doing with this podcast what other people's don't. What I do that helps me is I share my information with other people, even with you guys, but I share it with my staff too. And so what happens is I grow a team of people that can help me later on. By helping them, I can somehow help myself. Right. I've thought about this even as I've developed this podcast. I'm giving you guys a lot of information. A lot of you guys are benefiting from it. But I always think, you know what? One day, one of you guys might come work with me, right? One of you guys might be someone that I say, hey, you know what? I need a new coach, and I'm going to come to you guys. And I'm going to say, hey, of you guys, who wants to come? And the beauty is, you're already trained in the way that I do things. So when you come on the team, we're all going to win because you're ready to win, and I'm ready to have you, and we're going to move forward, and we get to be a part. I'm not saying that's the case right now. Don't come hitting me up for opportunities. I will announce it the day that it comes up. But by sharing, I'm preparing, and in preparing, I'm going to help myself as well. Right. So you guys can go and run with the information. But one day when I come to the well and I say, hey, does anybody want to come help me with my business? One of you guys are going to say yes. And the beauty is you're already thinking the way that I would do things. And so it's going to be an easier fit for everyone. Right. And you also already know what I'm about and what the mission's about and how it would be like to be in this environment. And so we're already set up for the future. Right. So my system is always teach people, help them, and whenever you need, you'll get some help back, right? And it's happened with Sean, right? His career has grown in the company, but the company also grows, right? So we're all winning. The other trainers win, right? So sales, you guys, sales. I'm just going back to the importance of being able to make the best of your opportunities, right? When you don't have sales, and I'll leave it at this, when you don't focus on sales, when you don't respect sales, what's going to happen is you're going to squander your opportunities. That's all. Somebody's going to ask you a question. You're not going to know how to handle it. Somebody's going to ask you for prices. You're not going to know how to handle it. Somebody's going to try a free session with you. You're not going to know how to handle it. Somebody's going to tell you, I'll come back next week. You're not going to know how to handle it. So you're going to squander a lot of opportunities. Now, some you'll have, but if you don't respect your sales, you're going to squander a lot of opportunities and you're going to move slowly. So that's number 4. Every company has a sales process. Okay. So this is universal, like I said in the beginning. The last thing, number 5, the element of scalability. Okay. This is a little more advanced. That's why I left it at the end, right? But scalability. Scalability means that you also have to think about how big your company can even be. How big can it get? Right. So when you're a trainer starting off, of course, you're just thinking, I just want a client, right? That would be enough for me. I just want one, right? I just wish I had 5, right? If I could just have 5, I'd be happy. That's great. But eventually, you have to think about the lever of scalability. Am I setting myself up to be able to take care of 15? Once I have 15, what's going to happen? Can I get 20? Maybe, maybe not, especially if I'm mobile. So then what's the scalability plan? Do I hire someone? Well, that's going to cost me more money. Do I charge more? I might be able to do that, but then is my product better? Is it good enough to charge more? Are people going to pay more? Is it the same clients that I'm selling to? So when you think about scalability, again, it's just going to wrap you back around with everything that we talked about today. You're going to have to think of all the little parts and how you have to adjust them in order to scale. Going right back one step, I just talked about sales and how Sean is a salesperson, how he's teaching the other people to be better at sales, right? We got a sale today. I wasn't there, all that stuff. We got a sale this weekend when Sean wasn't there, right? Because I closed the weekend one, he closed this. So we all worked together. We got sales because the machine is scaled. It's scaled a little bit. I'm not saying that I'm a master at scalability. I run a small private facility, but that's scalability, right? Because I was aware of scalability, because Sean is aware of scalability, I knew I had to train Sean, and he knows he has to train the trainers that train under him, right? Or with him, right? However you want to phrase it. Because he understands that the only way to scale the business is to have more people with more skills. but that has been implanted into the business. The trainers know as well that the only way to get better paying clients, more consistent clients, is for them to improve their training skills, their consistency, their results, their programming, their soft skills, their personal skills, right? So they're aware of it. Why? Scalability. What I've talked to with, because we're going to start from the bottom, right? When I've talked to with the trainers, they have a sense of scalability already because they know that in order to have better paying, more consistent clients, better quality clients, their quality of their training and all the other things that go into it have to improve. It's the only way they're going to scale because they know scalability isn't possible by training 30 people, right? I'm not going to have any of my trainers train 30 people. It's not possible, but they could be better and they could have one client that pays double, which then increases their pay because they can scale their skills. Sean is thinking scalability in that sense, but he's also thinking, and Sean's the manager for you guys that don't know, he's just the manager of the gym. So I just referred to him by name, but the manager of the gym understands that the more he can teach the trainers a little bit about sales, it makes his time scalable because if he has, let's say, an appointment or a date with his wife, he may be able to go to that and have somebody fill in and they have the skills to do it. So his time and income has been scaled by having abilities, right? And for me as well, right? If the trainers are good, if Sean is good, if the sales are good, if I'm evolving, right? Then the scalability is good. If I invest in having a podcast where I talk to trainers, I train trainers, I teach trainers, I meet trainers, then I am also scaling the awareness of who I am and what I'm about. And I may also tap into that one day when I open up another location or another business or I need coaches or whatever. I have now tapped into another source of scalability, right? More people know about my gym, more people know about my name. That you guys are listening, right? Sam Lopez is who I am. More people are aware because I'm thinking of scalability, right? So there's different levels to it. I'm just letting you know you need to be mindful of that too. How are you going to scale your business, right? What about, okay, let's say you have 10 clients and you're capped out. How would you grow it? Oh, well, I would hire someone. Okay. Do they know the message? Do they know how to train? Is there any training? Do they know how to sell? Do they know how to renew people? Are they in line with your message? Do you have the money to pay them? Do you have the time to train them? Right. So it's a little more advanced. You don't have to think that far, but just understand that every business is thinking about scalability, right? So I'm just trying to make you guys aware of business concepts as you start your own personal training careers, your own personal training businesses. You have to be aware of this topic. You have to be aware of this lever of scalability that at some point, if your business is going to keep growing, you're going to have to figure out your scalability. Right now, it's probably not a problem because you have more time than you do clients. But let's just say you figure it out and you have 10 clients. How do you scale? You can have 2 clients per session. You can start small group. You can charge more. You can hire. You can get a location, right? There's so many little things that you can do if you want. You don't have to, but it's just one of those business concepts that are important for you to be aware of if you're going to grow, right? Scalability. You could also do it a different way. Maybe you never have more than 5 clients. Here's another way to scale since we're on the topic. Maybe you have 5 and you only ever have 5, but your goal is to have 5 people that pay you $500 a session, right? It might sound crazy right now, but if that's your mission, then you'll just have to make sure that the product and the service and the results and the marketing and the awareness and the sales and everything is so on point that you can pull that off. Probably not for most people, but that's a way to scale. Right? You can say, hey, I'm not training more, I'm just charging more. You can do it that way too. Or you can do it the other way, which most of us, I would advise to do in the beginning. Get as many as you clients as you can, then start to scale with the prices, right? So, but anyway, just different things to think about it. But if you're aware of scalability, you can at least expand the way you think about things. You might be a little more creative about your business, and creativity helps grow businesses, right? That's one thing that a lot of people don't have is you have to have some type of flexibility, but I can't come up with the ideas for you, but I just hope that by presenting you guys today with these 5 things to think about, these 5 topics, these 5 levers of improvement, I hope that that's enough for you guys to have some ideas for yourself and go, you know what, I'm gonna start working on this because I think this is gonna be important as my business grows. That's all I can really do from where I sit right now. Okay. So um yeah, personaltrainerhustle.com, you guys, if you guys want to grab a uniform, if you guys want to send in your question, um, go ahead, hit the link, personaltrainerhustle.com. It's all there. I would love to get some questions to, answer here. I'm always curious about what you guys are going through. So I appreciate everybody keeping up with the channel. I've just started uploading some stuff on YouTube. I already saw some subscribers, so I appreciate you guys that went over and supported on YouTube. I'll throw that link up on the pod episode. For those of you guys that just started listening, um, you know the podcast has grown on the podcast platforms, right? So mostly Spotify and Apple Podcast is where we've all been following along. It's where I built the podcast itself. But recently I was just like, you know what, from episode 100 and on, let's just do it with the visual for YouTube. And we'll upload a YouTube version, but my OGs, you don't have to do YouTube. You can just keep it on the podcast player. I'm a podcast guy. I don't really use YouTube that much, which is why I never really cared to do the YouTube version. I always just did the podcast because I just listen to podcasts, so I don't need that. But um, one of my trainers at the gym said like, "Oh, I'd love to, follow it on YouTube," and so it kind of got in my head, and I just thought, you know what, why not have just another avenue for people to share? But for those of you guys that maybe find this on YouTube, um, just know that like it's not going to look the same because most people are on on the podcast platforms. So, but either way, it doesn't hurt to have both versions. If you guys want to do the YouTube, you can. If you guys just want to go support the YouTube and, hit some likes or some subscriptions just to get the ball rolling, of course, I'd appreciate it. But at the end of the day, I just appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate everyone that has left, the 5-star review on the pod. I when I see that, I always note like, okay, we're doing a good job here. We're moving forward. And I just so appreciate everyone because you don't have to, you don't have to leave the reviews. So when you do, it's just one of those things that shows, your heart and how you function in this world. And so you guys are my type of people, and I appreciate that. So go ahead and leave a review if you would like on the podcast or wherever you're listening to. Just don't do a low one because it's gonna ding me. So if you're gonna do a low one, just if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, as they say. But no, you guys, if you guys can leave a good review, I'll appreciate that. If you guys want to send in a question, I'm gonna love that. And if you guys pick up a uniform tee to represent yourself as a personal trainer everywhere you go, that's available as well, and you can pick one of those up. And you can work on your marketing even in a simple way like that. All right. So that's all there. Personaltrainerhustle.com. Check it out. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.